Good morning, everyone. How are we all? Happy Wednesday. Only a few days away now from Day of Reckoning. So today we're going to look ahead to Wilder Parker and try and break this down. Now, when you're breaking down these fights, sort of the Joshua fight and the Wilder fight, there's a clear favourite in either. So it's kind of more about what the sort of the challenger, as in Parker, and Wilder have got to do to sort of overturn the favourite, should we say. So looking at Parker, I've sort of watched, 5 or 6 fights of his over the day yesterday. A few things about Parker stick out. First off, surprisingly, he's quite good defensively. He's quite slippery and he's quite hard to nail down at times. He's kind of deceptively good defensively. He does this in quite a few fights I've seen. He sort of goes through rounds and carries the look almost of a sparring partner. I think in the was it in the Joshua fight, I think, or the Joyce fight. There were times in there where he almost had a smile to his opponent, almost like in a way that you kind of would in a spar, rather than being the opposition and having the killer mentality to beat your opponent. He's kind of sometimes almost a bit almost happy to just be there rather than intent on killing his opposition, which he kind of should do. And there is an argument with Parker and I agree with it. Do we call Parker a killer? I don't. To me, he doesn't have the killer mentality. He hasn't got the killer mentality of a Wilder. He hasn't got the killer mentality of, say, even a Fury. Even since Fury's become a walk forward puncher, he's got a killer destroyer mentality. Parker doesn't seem to have that. And I've also noticed, and this has always been evident to me, Parker struggles to find range and get in range with bigger, taller men, longer men. He lacks ideas on the way in, and he'll often just throw from out of range. He'll throw wide hooks or just long over the top sort of backhands. And he's going to really throw it against Wilder because Wilder is massively longer, massively taller. So that's another thing. He's also quite clumsy. Like I say, when he's facing longer men, taller men, where he can't stand in range naturally, he's sort of forced to be on the outside. When he can't bridge the distance with his footwork or with technique, he'll just sort of clumsily throw long lead shots. One thing that stuck out noticeably against Joyce and against Joshua at times, he's happy to be walked backwards. You haven't even really got to force him backwards. Even if you just step forward and attempt to walk him down, you don't even have to pressure him. He's happy to accept the role of being on the back foot and letting himself being pushed backwards. Without being pushed, he'll readily accept going backwards with not much sort of pressure. So that's not a great. He's just. There are times when he can apply pressure, but they're very limited. He's got surprisingly fast hands at times. That is one of his major sort of, plus points is he's got really quick hands, but he doesn't really employ them enough. And his feet kind of aren't good enough to make use of his quick hands if he's got to bridge distance in doing so. He was asked, I think it was an interview on Boxing Social maybe, and they sort of asked him what was his plan going into this Wilder fight. And he kind of said, take away the right hand. Simply take away the right hand. Now, that's great. He's got to take away the right hand, but you've also got to win the fight. Taking away the right hand is one thing. That's going to eliminate you getting stopped or getting beat, but it's not going to win you the fight, just taking away the right hand. There will be times in the mid-range, in the mid-distance, when Wilder is going to launch attacks. Now, if he can slip the right hand or go underneath the right hand, there will be times in the mid-range as Wilder, because Wilder rarely throws a right hand and doesn't let his feet follow. His feet always follow. He puts that much momentum into that right hand. His feet always follow him in. So if you can avoid the right, if you can come underneath or slip that right hand, there will be opportunities in the mid-ground where Parker can use his hand speed on the way as Wilder advances after his punch. There'll be opportunities there, but he has to avoid the right hand in doing so. And I'm sure I would expect them to have sparred this, and done this, because he can't just avoid the right hand and then when he gets in close, just maul and hold, because he won't win rounds and he's not going to deter Wilder in any way by doing so. He's got to land shots and he's got to hurt Wilder or make some sort of impact early to try and deter Wilder at all. Wilder's a bit of a freak. I mean, it's almost like the uneducated style in which he boxes, even when he gets hurt, even when there's evident risk of him getting caught by being reckless in his attacks, he will carry on attacking. He doesn't think defensively minded, Wilder doesn't. He will attack. He keeps coming like a Terminator. I'd like to think that, there are elements of this where Parker can put up a fight, but the more I look at it, the more I sort of put each one's attributes against the other. I just don't see Parker having enough in any area to really stop Wilder or actually win a fight against Wilder. I just think Wilder's too pressuring. He punches too hard, and I think the fact that that Parker struggles massively with distance and making up distance. He doesn't do that in a very educated or very polished way. I just think that's, everything lies in Wilder's favour to me. And I think watching Wilder, I watched the 3 Fury fights yesterday. I watched the latest one. I watched a couple more. I think we kind of sometimes are a bit harsh on Wilder. I think technically he's possibly not as bad as what we sort of make out. When you break him down, in the Fury fights, up until the point where Wilder gets pressured and the point where he gets tired and hurt, from that point on, he tends to unravel technically from a game plan point of view and from a sort of a technical point of view. Up until that point, he's fairly decent. I think his jab is underrated. It's long, it's stiff, it's powerful, and it's fast. His feet, again, he moves around the ring a lot better than you'd give him credit for. Again, up until the point where he gets hurt and gets tired. But we probably underrate him slightly, don't we? Because we saw him on the way up and we saw how technically poor he was compared to elites, but he's possibly not as bad as what we think. And I think one of the biggest problems for me is Deontay Wilder is a bona fide killer. It's in his instinct. Parker is not at all. And in the Joyce fight, if you watch it, to me, Joyce is reminiscent of a slow motion Wilder in a way. And Parker got hit a lot against Joyce. And, Joyce throws his shots yesterday and they land tomorrow. That's how slow Joyce is. And he still got hit, so it doesn't bode well for Parker in that sense. And it's just, unless you've got, a selection of snipers in the crowd who are going to get Wilder via a triangulation of gunfire, he will not stop. He will keep coming. And even against Fury, when you see, even at his most hurt, he is still able to put you away. He still carries that threat. So as many ways as I want to, because everyone's talked about these 2 fights, especially the Wilder and the Joshua fights, the potential banana skins, and they are. But I just can't see Parker doing enough in the areas where he would need to turn this fight in his favour. Unfortunately, all I can see, other than now, Wilder has been massively inactive since the 3rd Fury fight. He went for a camp for the Helenius fight, but the fight didn't really count. It didn't go long enough to see what was left of Wilder. What is he, 37, 38 now? So with his age and the 2 beatings he took against Fury and the inactivity, they can have a massive impact. We won't know that unless the Parker fight goes sort of mid to late rounds. We're not going to really see it. But unless there's a significant degradation in Wilder, I can't see anything other than a Wilder win by stoppage. And because of Wilder's punch-out power and because he can deliver at any time, it could be a stoppage from round 1 to round 8 to round 10. Who knows? But my final prediction, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to add more suspense to this. I just don't see anything other than a Wilder stoppage victory. So that's my prediction on that. We'll be back with the Joshua Walling prediction and a few others. So we'll see you all soon. Don't forget, like, subscribe. See you all soon. I'm out.